Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Scouting for Growth, the podcast dedicated to exploring the strategies, innovations, and minds that drive business growth and success. During our Scouting for Growth session, we delve into the world of corporate startup collaboration and partnerships, as well as growth strategies deployed by corporate and institutional investors, as well as those who support them. Today, we are incredibly excited to welcome on the show Per Axberg, the CEO of Legally. Legally is a revolutionary platform that leverages the power of AI to provide critical insights on B2B contracts before and after signing. This helps sellers, purchasers, and lawyers to engage in efficient and accurate contract reviews, thereby saving precious time. During our discussion today, we will be diving deep into three fascinating topics. First, we will learn about Per's journey and the inspiration that led to the creation of Legally. What was it that spurred him to set up this AI-driven platform for B2B contracts? Next, we will explore why SaaS platforms for legal contracts are not just an added convenience, but an essential tool for today's entrepreneurs, and how do they play a role in supporting and streamlining business operations. Finally, we will delve into the three most crucial best practices that entrepreneurs and their legal departments can adopt to make the most of those platforms, particularly when scaling their enterprises. So, whether you are an entrepreneur seeking to optimize your legal processes, a lawyer looking for the latest tech in contract review, or someone intrigued by the intersection of AI and law, this episode is one you won't want to miss. And remember, if you enjoy our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave a comment. Your feedback is invaluable in helping us bring you the most relevant and impactful discussions. If there is a topic you would love to hear more about, don't hesitate to get in touch with us through the channel option listed below. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into our conversation with the innovative and visionary leader of Legally, Per Axberg. Hi, Per. Welcome to Scouting for Growth.
Thank you, Sabine. How are you doing?
I'm good, and very curious to learn about you and Legally. So first, I want to know a little bit more about you as a corporate person. I've read somewhere that your career extended many years, and you were 9 years in Danske Bank. And then I want to get into why you set up Legally.
Well, Danske Bank was my first job. I was actually measuring image and customer perception for a bank, especially during the financial crisis in 2007 and those years, 9 I guess was. So there was an interesting job doing that. But I mainly got there because I studied economics at university. I was living in southern Sweden, I still am. And Danske Bank is a big bank in Copenhagen, which is bordering just to southern Sweden. So a lot of people commute between them. Meanwhile, I always had some companies on the side running some businesses, not that much advanced things. We were running this. For example, we were saving versions of websites for municipalities and so on to be able to go back and see what it looked like 10 years ago and so that. And me doing that, we needed a contract one day. So I went to one of my best friends, and he was a lawyer at one of the big firms, well-known firms in Sweden. And he said, I'm going to give you this friendly price and the friendly price for that contract was like half of the cash that we had in the company, pretty much. So I just, well, that's not going to work. So, but that guy and I, we actually sat down and started looking into, okay, what can we do here? How can we make? I can't be the only one that needs a cheap contract for less money. So we realized, okay, let's build a platform where we can match lawyers, use their spare capacity. I mean, they're consultants; they need to sell the time and do all these things. If we can just buy the time that they haven't sold already for less, then they had to spend less time selling themselves, and they still make a profit of it, and we can sell their time for less money to startups. But what happened was that it was actually quite large companies, global companies, who started using this service, needing lawyers to check incoming contracts, kind of a bulk, bit boring task to go through these standard documents to see, is there anything that is a risk here? Is there anything that breaches our preferences, our guidelines, and so on? And from there, we realized that, well, now technology started to get better. They started to become AI as such. It started to be able to do things more for commercial purposes. At the same time, we also met this lawyer, head of law at the big company, who said that, well, I made a small business card for the wild card that I handed out to my salespeople. And it was WILD stood for warranty, indemnity, limitation, liability, and delay. And he said, please just focus on these 4 things, and we get rid of most of the risks, at least, because before they didn't check anything pretty much. So there we had a business case where companies are getting incoming contracts. They need support to review them. We got some structure from a company on how can you actually structure what is a contract review for a robot. I mean, you can't just tell it, review this. You have to formalize that in a way, structure that in a way. And that was the first step to legally. Those 4 concepts, checking for warranties, indemnity, limitation, liability, and delay, which we launched a few years ago. And today it's much, much more than that.
So you started by trying to match lawyers and so sellers and purchasers, so enabling them to find legal help for less. And so now that has morphed to something else where you're actually able to use artificial intelligence, and probably you have already available template contracts to actually enable people to actually work faster. So I want to understand, so what is Legally today? Because you mentioned it's much more.
Well, Legally today is, to start in the easiest way, we'll say it's a robot that acts pretty much like a lawyer would do. You can upload one contract. You can go to our website and just upload one for free to try it, and then you will get back within a minute or so the document, and there will be highlights, different colors, and comments on the side, telling you what to focus on, what is important. You could tailor that also to be more like what is a breach to our guidelines and so on. So that's like the fundamental machine or the service, and that helps companies to check contracts really before signing, pre-signature documents, before they're signing, to ensure they are complying with the preferences. But we also can take this machine that can read these documents and apply that on contract portfolios. For law firms checking on legal due diligence when you're buying or selling a company, to be able to go through large amounts of documents to check for does it contain these things, what documents looks for these things, so that you easier can narrow it down and focus on, okay, we need to check these documents as well. Or for companies who are working with governance and risk and want to and really don't have a clue of what does it look like in our documents. Many of the contracts may be in different parts of the world and they haven't structured them anywhere. By using the AI here, you can actually start filtering or searching live on, okay, one example which is quite current is the inflation. You're starting to get inflation now in the world. Some companies want to start looking into where can we increase prices. Then you want to find, okay, what documents with more than a year of agreement term do include a price index clause, and which does not include a price index clause. So, okay, now we can actually contact these companies to do this and so on. Before you had to read it through all the documents, there could be thousands of them, and now we could just drag and drop pretty much, and you get a list of them directly. where you can click down through and actually see what they say or so. So that's what legal is today. Doing more of finding lots of things in the documents, helping you to go through a contract much faster, but in particular helping non-lawyers to find these things in the contract before signing. People may not be used to checking for things, to be able to find breaches to the preferences before involving the rest of the organization, before waiting for some weeks for the legal team to come back with feedback and so on, and thereby be able to handle much more in the contract process.
So that leads to two additional questions for me. So who is your customer? Is it a big company? Is it a startup? Is it both? And then you mentioned contracts and portfolio of contracts. Where is Legally most suited for? Is it for everything? Tell us, where do people use the platform most?
Well, it's depending on who you are, really. We have a quite big flow of users coming in from the internet, Googling support, and they just need someone to check one document, and that's what they have for the rest of the year, and they may not have that much more. That could be like a start, so in an early phase. If we talk, but we have a lot of larger companies using that as well to more structure the contract management process here. To start that, okay, usually salespeople are the ones receiving the documents from their customers. And they are the ones who knows the deal, knows the business, knows who the customer are, the relation, all these things. And they are much more suited to actually check these documents as far as they can, because they can see, is this a very important customer, is it not, and so on. Can we trade in other ways to do these things? So the more you can help the salespeople to do this, the better the process will be, and the cheaper the process will be, and much faster as well. But of course, many of these larger companies doing that also have legal teams. They may also be there. We're not replacing any lawyers as such. They may be the ones coming in, but instead of being asked to review the whole document, like, please check this, and they just, oh, not another one of these, they may get 2 or 3 questions. Is this okay? Can we do something about that? How about this? And by doing that, you get much more efficient structure, checking these documents in a much faster way.
No, that's superb. And so when you actually look at where you are today, so you mentioned you were in banking and then you started building side businesses, and now Legally is your main occupation, I assume. So where are you from a scale and growth viewpoint? I mean, we had COVID, and now we are going to recession. I'm sure you probably are very lucky because you're in an area where probably contracts is being checked even more. Where are you as a business now, Per?
We are in a quite early phase still as a company as such. We've been working for quite a long time to actually get that product market fit, and now we are more moving into this scaling process. So we have a number of customers. We have been working with them for a long time. They are renewing the usage of it and are quite satisfied with the service. So that's where we are as in our travel as a company or as a startup, we could say. At the same time, we deal with quite advanced things here. We talk to people quite high up in organizations and so on. So we are. It's not that we just tested something carefully. We've been out there really working with big organizations, both on security assessments on how to analyze this, on how will this AI impact the human being's mind? Is it biased to one thing and so on, and also really ensuring that it does deliver what it's supposed to do.
You know, I remember 5-6 years ago when I started working on my acceleration program, I remember I had lawyers coming and working alongside me with the accelerator and talking about how the legal field will be disrupted by artificial intelligence at the time. So what do you think AI has brought to the legal field, and how do you feel it's going to evolve in the next few years?
Well, the legal field as such, I mean, focusing on law firms now, where we talk to, or we are doing this legal due diligence projects with them, helping them to rapidly go through more volumes of things. there have been a lot of people asking, like, can we do an exclusive deal here and so on? And it's quite, to them, today, it's something that, well, we could be a front runner having this kind of AI. In my world, give it 6 months or a year, maybe 2 years, and it's going to be a hygiene factor. If you don't have it, so who are you then? So that's, I think, where it's going to be. I mean, we're not going to, overall, it's classic that, okay, we're going to help them to be spending more time on advanced tasks, the way they really can be the experts and so on. That's going to happen naturally, but very much these things that the law firms, and that's, I think that goes for pretty much any company today, really. The law firms that get on the train now, starting to implement these, start to test how to work with it, how to fit it their work the best, they will be fine going on. Those who doesn't do it, those who say, well, let's wait and see for the how, when the products are perfect for us and so on, they're probably going to be waiting for a long time. And at that time, maybe it's not just the technology that has evolved, maybe the whole market has evolved, the new pricing models, new business models, and all these things. So I think it's very central that right now staying where you are today and looking into where you will be in the future within the legal field, you have to start testing these kind of tools, and you have to get an understanding of it so that you can structure your work in a better way that suits this kind of technologies in a way, or at least be maturing how to use this kind of solutions, because they will become a hygiene factor for most of you in the future.
So, it's been a craze, right, over the past few months since November with generative AI. So is Legally using ChatGPT-4? Are you leveraging also generative AI as part of your, modeling framework?
Yeah. Yes, we don't use ChatGPT, GPT, but we are. It's been a lot of things there. I mean, they are one of them. We have Bloom, you have Dolly, you have lots of new models coming up. At the same time, these are the ones we've been mentioning now are like the big ones. They're really heavy and so on. And there's a parallel world as well, developing a lot of these models, maybe a bit more specific on certain tasks, but almost just as good as they are and so on. And what we do is constantly testing these things, taking the data and the structure, because what we have in the background, and I think was kind of unique in a way or necessary for company here, is that you have data, you have structured data, you have an understanding how to structure it, you have an understanding of how to categorize it. Since you have that, we can take any of these new models and test them on our environment and see, does this improve and so on, and does this get better, does it worse, in what way can it help us, what specific task can it help us to be better. So by doing that, we always, even though we are a really small company, we are 5 people, so we can take the state-of-the-art technology and implement it really rapidly in our solutions, ensuring that it delivers as good as it should be done out there, without having any research departments, without having hundreds of developers and so on. And that's the beauty with this. I guess that's an advantage as well for a small company like ours, because we can make really quick decisions on those things. We don't have to have a specific IT board meeting to discuss what should we try next and so on. We can just test it in a week and so on. So things are moving really rapidly, and we don't use ChatGPT specifically, but overall, the kind of models coming in is definitely.
Yeah. So what you are saying is, you use a different form of generative AI, and us as users, we need to really understand generative AI goes beyond that ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I think that's what often people do not realize. There is a lot of models which are out there beside the one we are using with the prompts. Mm-hmm. And so how are you doing with competition? So as you know, as we were going to talk to each other today, Per, I went on the internet and I checked, what was available around legal contract platforms. And I think your platform is probably super competitive compared to some I've seen out there. So how is the market faring? And, how do we evaluate competitors? Because some are super expensive. Yeah. And I was really surprised of the gaps between what you're doing and some others which are out there.
Well, I guess that's kind of the market. It's a young market. We need to like really find where can pricing be and so on. Pricing, I guess, for some companies, usually what you've been able to charge, perhaps in testing and so on. We found that our level is really suiting us because we have a lot of non-legal experts using the tool. That's usually the big number of people using the tool, and they are perhaps salespeople and so on. But you could have like 200 salespeople, 2,000 salespeople in a company global wise, while the legal team maybe would be 7 people somewhere in a place. So that could be one reason. But overall, competition for us is usually more about should we use it or not. It's rarely that we are discussing with suppliers or customers, potential customers, comparing to this other solution and so on. They're more like, okay, this is kind of a new thing. Let's look into this. Let's see how we can work and so on. They may have before a platform for creating, drafting contracts. They may have a platform for e-signature and those things that have been in the legal tech industry for a longer time. But these kind of contract review, extraction, analytics tools, there's a number of them, but they are not as many and not as well known to the companies merely. So usually it's for us that we have to build the market. That's the issues rather than competing with others. But yeah, it's that said, it also varies a lot on what we are specializing on and what we are really good at doing. Some are definitely focusing much more on certain types of industries or certain types of role within organizations, or making different kind of combinations of tools. For us, it's very much about having, okay, this overall view. You can really filter in to see what documents are there. You can really find what you want to look for, and then zoom into the document, have a document view to be able to read every single clause, or the other way, starting with specific clause, realizing, well, wow, is this in a contract? What other contracts has it? And zoom out in that way. That kind of work, connecting the board with the head of law, with the CFO and so on, with the organization, is something that for us is very, very important, and that we see that companies find to be a very much more practical way of dealing with these things and less academic.
Yeah, I can see that. Even, the big corporation I'm working with, everybody's trying to find efficiency saving. Everybody understand we can achieve efficiency saving with technologies such as artificial intelligence and the blockchain. And you don't, put the lipstick on the pig and say, I'm using AI or blockchain. But at the end of the day, it's about, how is the business going to operate to be much more predictive and much more relevant for its customer at the right price, as you highlighted. Is Legally able to provide contract templates? Because I've seen companies just doing templates, right? Not providing that additional service, which is, okay, is a contract relevant for me right now or for my region right now?
Well, we do not have any templates or anything like that. What we help companies with is to check and understand those documents that you've never seen before. Checking that your template is fine. That's other can do that, and the drafting tools. That's other types of companies that we can integrate with, of course, because I guess you need both sides here. And this varies for some companies. That's a lot of. Especially if you're selling to consumers, you may not get that many contracts coming in. You're probably going to sell more, sending your terms to the consumer. While if you are selling more to businesses, you're probably going to have to be Microsoft or Google. Otherwise, you will receive a lot of documents coming in, even though you're large.
Very helpful. And so that takes me into another part of the question I wanted to evaluate with you, which is, how do you, as you are in the legal field, are you using the European Commission Artificial Intelligence directives? And how are you looking at it as you are building your own platform, Per?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. We buy every time we approach and sell to a larger corporations, in particular, we get all these assessments, and that's both on security but also on compliance with all these kind of what do you call it, formal policies within EU or within other companies and so on, countries, and ensuring that we build an AI that's going to be which is built in a good way, and it's going to be acting in the way that we want it to, and so on. So that's usually where we get into that kind of documents. But it's a word that changes really rapidly, and in particular now, since ChatGPT came, first we had a lot of people being really excited about the whole things it can do, and then people start to realize, well, so is this now when it's going to start develop itself and kill us, pretty much? And I think that's in some cases a bit overrated, too much, but in other cases, I think it's became some good discussions here, really, on both who owns what do you train them on, like artists producing paintings, and then you train a robot on those paintings to start painting, and then that will compete with those artists actually, so who trained it initially. All these kind of things is really interesting. And also someone compared it to when we had the dolly, the sheep, where European countries came together quite rapidly and said, no one may actually produce a copy of a human being. And that kind of stopped that field of science, because we all said that, well, we are not really mature for that right now. I guess that kind of things also, that kind of discussions to find a sound level of it is kind of necessary too, and quite welcome to start. But it's a very new area, and things happen quite rapidly. But every time there is something coming from the EU, stuff like that, I guess it's well thought through it, and at least brings us further a bit every time.
Well, you are so right. I mean, when I look at the commentary coming through LinkedIn, it's fascinating, the encouragement and the fear around generative AI. Partly, I think, because people don't know what they don't know. And my view is, tools like this are very useful for augmentation and automation, but you can't let the platforms do all your work. You have to check whatever is coming. And for me, what I realized with those tools is actually experts like you and I, in our field, are more likely to be able to identify where the system is giving us wrong answers than young people who are still learning, educating themselves around the world they are living in and the experiences they are building to, alongside their career. And so that is where it's going to be interesting. Expert will know how to use the system to drive automation and efficiencies. Novice players will find themselves hurt if they actually do not do their research thoroughly.
But things will always develop, and I mean, the level we're on today, we have this kind of concern. We had the same concern. I saw this documentary from the 70s, actually. It was a documentary on Swedish public TV. In short, it stated that what's going to happen now with the individual rights since we started to digitize, and that was in the 60s, 70s. The same question is becoming up now, and the same question will be coming in the future, because we don't really reach a steady state. This is where it is. Those who are young today and novice today, they will be the experts in the future, but then they also will have young novice people. And so it's going to be, I think it's just like the way you need to jump on the train to start using AI, as I talked about before. Like, you can't just sit and wait for the product to be done and ready. We also, the legislation and how we look at AI has to be a constant project, a constant discussion, because it's not going to be, well, now we're done, let's work through this document here, and then we're happy.
Indeed. And so where do you see the future going now, Per? So I would like you to tell us where you hope the future to be going, and how you as a business will scale and enable others to learn from Legally and develop much more stronger businesses.
Well, using AI, you mean specifically, or
using AI, using legal form of AI?
Yeah. Well, I think that any business today, there's kind of a popular thing right now that you say, well, we should also have something with AI. We should also have that. I mean, I get a lot of contacts from platforms saying that we should have something with AI, or we should do this and that. But a lot of them haven't really thought through what they want. The first step you really need to look into if you want to implement something for commercial needs here is that you see, okay, what kind of application is viable today? Because a lot of them coming asking for AI or wanting AI or dreaming about that to see that we need to get that to become a successful company. They are starting to wish for things that would require that they start making research in these areas as well. And that's something else than building an AI product. Research that's where you see Google, Facebook, and all these ChatGPT and so on, building new things. Putting a product on the market that is taking the kind of building blocks that are available today and then ensuring that they are always the state-of-the-art version. So I think that looking forward 24 months for legal sector or any other sector, companies need to sit down and think, okay, what do we want to have? And what would be a normal feature that we could use today to provide value for our customers today that could fit into a business model today, and think about that now, and then have this constant discussion ongoing, like to see, okay, now we are 3 years later, how should we do it? How should we check these things and move on? So I think that's kind of the future here. You have to be on the train. You can't sit and wait for the ready product. You have to constantly evolve these things, because AI is becoming a big building block for any kind of organization, any kind of product that you're dealing with.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So looking back there, if you could change something over the course, of the past 24 months when you actually was shaping Legally to where it is today, what would that be?
That's a good question. I think for us, perhaps a bit of a marketing thing. Maybe we should be more, should have thought about other things in a different way on some areas. Maybe we should have moved faster into this portfolio analytics. But we also been in our history from the very beginning, from us having a need, we've been waiting for a customer to ask for something, to see that this is something requested, developing things on where we see that the customers or companies are needing today. So I can't say that we did it wrong in a way, but I think that the way people are really looking for or this bulk analysis that has struck me quite a lot, and I think we should have done that maybe a year sooner or so on. At the same time, we also been there a few times we've been a bit too far, and where the market is not really ready for it perfectly, and we had to wait for like 3 and 6 months. It has to come something like the ChatGPT for people to wake up and realize, well, so it can do all these things. Well, then maybe that could be interesting too. So every time that happens, it's good for us, because then that brings the expectations of the market much further, and then we can feel that expectation much better as well. So
yeah. We need to match demands against expectation, as the world we are living in is definitely more predictive, leveraging technology such as artificial intelligence, among others, right? Think about cloud computing, the blockchain, and all those things coming together to build, I guess, businesses which probably will be very different from what we used to have in the past, and probably focusing more on a software as a service model, where people can just take what they need when they need it, which is also your business model, Per, and making it more affordable for businesses, small and large, to actually get the benefit from a solution like yours. So any last words you would like to share with our listeners in our audience?
Well, I think what really struck me the last few months here with the ChatGPT coming, and how we have actually changed the way we work with these things. Before, we checked like once in a month. We looked at things, how is things evolving. As one of our developers said, something came, BERT came some years ago, and then we went to take a coffee, and suddenly you come back and everything is just running really, really fast. I think that any advice here is that if you are having some type of business where you're looking to, you can see a concrete need for AI, where AI can actually produce something, you need to get on it. You need to ensure that you do structure. You don't have to build the whole thing right now, maybe, but start thinking these terms, realizing what kind of data would that mean that we need? How do we need to structure the data? Getting some overall understanding of how to do these things, and then you will be. Then it doesn't really matter when you get on the train. Then you can use the latest state-of-the-art technology at any time. But if you don't think these things, if you just sit and wait and then come up with a good idea after a glass of red wine, then it's just not going to work. AI is not magic. It still is some statistical models that you need to use, but you need to understand how to use them. And I think that's really, really key for the success of any company that may use AI in the future.
Thank you, Per. So where can we find you?
Well, we have the webpage legally.io, naturally, or just Google online contract review. I guess we are one of the top searches there. And otherwise, ever in Copenhagen or southern Sweden, we have also an office in Stockholm, actually. So anywhere in Sweden, come by for a coffee, and you can meet my colleagues. They're even bigger AI nerds than I am. So that could be an interesting chat for anyone.
That's good to know. And when I visit the Sweden, which I love Stockholm, and also Copenhagen in Denmark, I spent a lot of many years of my life working there, I will definitely drop in. Well, thank you, Per, for joining us on Scouting for Growth.
Thank you, Sabine.
If you like this podcast, subscribe now, share with your friends, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star review. Also, if you want to cover any specific subject with me, contact me on Instagram under Sabine VdL Officials or LinkedIn under Sabine VdL. Thank you.